My name is Renganarayana, LN for short. I'll keep my intro also very short. I enjoy building systems that makes a difference in people's lives. More recently at Workday, I'm helping build machine learning products that make work better for all of us. Workday touches a lot of, like, millions of lives every day, so that's what I do. Madhura.
Hi everyone, I'm Madhura. Like Ellen, I'm also passionate about this. Okay, you can read about my career on LinkedIn, but the principle that energizes me is dreaming big and working relentlessly at acquiring the skills and stamina so I can realize my dreams. Any climbers in the audience?
Yes.
Okay, find me later. Maybe we can share some stories. Getting back to the product, though, the professional life. At Workday, let me see, show of hands, how many of you use Workday? Oh, good, okay. So whoever did not raise their hand, we build cloud products that help you run your business. The three main flagship products that we have are around talent. How do you onboard, retain, develop your talent? Your finance, analytics, and as you can see, there's a variety of products that you can use to leverage. The other thing I wanted to highlight is the pace of innovation that's been at Workday's core since the beginning. The company was born in the cloud in 2007, and over the last few years, we've been leveraging the latest technology trend, which is machine learning, and applying it through our entire product portfolio. If you see the orange bubbles on the right side, those are the ones that are out in the field right now where we leverage machine learning. And the main focus for our teams is how do you apply machine learning where your time to market is fast, and how do you do it at scale where you can continue to innovate at the rate that Workday has been across the entire product suite. So that's been our focus. Quickly about the team, we're primarily in San Francisco, but we are also expanding. San Francisco and Soma, Spear, and Howard, if you're curious. But we're also expanding in Pleasanton and Dublin, Ireland. Now that you have the context around the product, us, and where we are, let's get into the lessons, the meat of what we wanted to share with all of you. This is from the last 4 years of our journey as a team. And before I get into the lesson, I just want to mention, Ellen and I are just representing the work of our team. We couldn't put all of them up here, but are you guys in the audience? Can you raise your hand, team? All right, so take a look at all the hands and connect with any one of us after this talk if what we say today is interesting to you. So in early 2014, Workday acquired a 20-person startup that was building consumer products for social recruiting and predictive analytics. If you remember in 2014, machine learning was probably at the peak of its hype. Everybody was excited about this thing. Everybody wanted to apply it across everything. And even the team at Workday was really euphoric around this new talent that came in. And they asked the team to build 40 applications in a year. The team did not have experience building enterprise applications, but they still knew that was a wee bit too much, 40. They said, we'll do 3 in a year. 1 year passed. We had 1 application out. In its first iteration, the complexities of security, compliance, and scale, integrating with the existing stack, we were able to get 1 out, naturally so. All the stakeholders' excitement was deflated. Next 6 months, we spent our time proceeding with caution and only focused on products that were known to everybody, like search, recommendations. So we stayed within the perimeters of what everybody understood about machine learning. During those 6 months, we also spent a lot of time educating all of our stakeholders, our product managers that had no idea about machine learning, our execs who were trying to figure out how is this thing going to work in my business. We educated. The entire leadership just spent time educating all these stakeholders. And our efforts paid off within about 6 months. This was late 2015. Spring came back for us. The energy across the entire company was back around, oh, let's do more. And we kept on getting more and more requests. And the big lesson, takeaway from this for us was, do spend the time in educating your stakeholders. We thought it was too complex for us to explain this to them. But it was very important to build out the material, the education, to help them understand what is this new thing that I know I need to do something about in my business, but they did not understand the complexities and challenges involved with it. So do spend the time, even if it takes you a lot, to try to simplify concepts for them. So that's the first one. Let's do a show of hands. How many of you use K-fold as a validation technique? Okay, I see quite a bit of hands. So the first product that we built at Workday was retention risk. And we used K-fold in the exploration phase for validating. Guess what the number was for accuracy? Victory, right? Yes. So we were giddy, and I'm only talking about the leadership team here. We were all giddy when all these guys came to us and said, hey, 95%. We didn't listen to everything they said. We said, and told our internal stakeholders, look at what the numbers are for this first product that we're going to ship. But as the team continued backtesting and they added temporal validation to the equation, the number dropped, naturally so. We shouldn't have been that giddy. And there was a little bit of disappointment amongst our internal stakeholders, and we had to bring them back up. The thing with the product we were building, the leadership did not understand at that point, is some of the factors that we used were non-stationary. I'm talking about retention risk here. And also, the results could be interdependent. If some people leave as a result, some other people might want to leave if you're in the vicinity. So all those factors, we should have waited till we finished all their validation, till we talked to them. So just be very thoughtful around which validation methods you use, and make sure whichever product context you're within to leverage everything that's out there, not the most widely popular or widely taught methods. How many of you lead teams here or are tech leads? Just a show of hands, quick one. Okay. Would you like to know which of your team members might leave? Right? Yes. And Workday builds products in HCM space. So the first product that we attempted was retention risk, as I was saying earlier. We were happy to do it. We just didn't realize how complex it was going to be. We spent a year, shipped the first iteration, MVP, waited for all the medals to flow in and the accolades to come in. The number of customers that used the product after that weekend, 0. We were hurt. And went back to the board. Okay, maybe our accuracy was not good enough. Let's work on boosting that. Maybe the features that other customer told us we did not include in our feature engineering, we need to add those. So we did a little bit more work over the next few weeks and shipped again, still nothing. They still didn't want to play with it. We started talking to them, and we started hearing their concerns. I'll show you the first mock. This wasn't the real product, but the wireframes we had. For the first version that had gone out, the vertical axis is the performance. The horizontal axis is the retention risk. If you see the red dots on the upper right corner, those are your high-performing employees at the highest risk. What's wrong with this iteration of the product? What's the action I can take here? Sure, you gave me some information, but where are those factors for me to know what levers I can pull to re-engage those people? So we heard that from them, and we spent some more time in making it making the results interpretable by our end users. And the big lesson for us is do spend a lot of time thinking about how is this going to be interpretable, how is this going to fit in their workflow, and build products keeping that in mind. So we exposed the factors during the workflow, shipped it out again. Guess what? Still a very few customers started using it, less than 10. And that made us scratch our head and go, what's going on here? Now we also told you the factors that are involved. We kept talking to them, and remember, this was a product that we were handing to HR partners within companies, enterprises, right? The retention risk. These guys weren't aware of probabilistic models, the complications around it, and they were afraid. For example, one of the HR analysts told us, hey, one of my partner managers, he has some employees who are at 90% or above risk. What if I give it to that person and they just proactively push that person out? So they were just worried about handing this thing in the hands of their managers across the company. And we realized that we needed to spend time to help these people who are not necessarily experts in understanding how to even educate their own end users around how to leverage it. We spent a lot of time telling them it's not a crystal ball. It is not going to predict who actually is going to leave. We had to keep saying that again and again. We told them to use it as a searchlight and ask their managers to, if this guy in the glasses is the one who's going to leave, use it as a soul-searching moment with them, or ask managers to start a conversation with it. It's just a conversation starters. And the big learning for all of us was that even after you build the greatest workflow and the end user experience, there will be products where you would need to invest in training and education and providing end users with materials for themselves or their own end users in enterprise space to be able to leverage that product well. And once we started with all that, we started seeing more and more use after we trained. And I'm going to hand it to Ellen to cover the scale part of it.
Yeah. Thanks, Madhura. So you heard Madhura talk about our learnings around organization and product building. I would like to share a few around how do you scale machine learning for enterprise SaaS. You must be thinking, is it any different from scaling for consumer space? Yes, good thought. And it is different. And let me walk you through a few things that we have discovered while applying machine learning for enterprise SaaS space and what are the dimensions of scale we see. So the first thing that comes to our mind when we think about scaling is dataset size. Like we heard from Anima's talk today morning, scaling to large dataset size is absolutely critical for success of applying machine learning, and it's true for us too. But in addition to that, very quickly we realized that actually scaling, another scaling dimension, which is a number of machine learning models, even for a single product, very quickly we got to a stage where there is tens of thousands of models that we need to like build, validate, store, version, and things like that. I'll go into the details in the next slides, but that's a dimension that we discovered by actually building it for the enterprise SaaS space, and it very quickly became another important dimension of scale that we had to like kind of manage. The other one is scaling machine learning to the number of ML users. So here, again, we are not talking about ML users as in like a data scientists or like fairly technical engineers, but we are talking scaling it to domain experts. Workday is in the domain of building business applications, and we have lots of domain experts who build these apps. How do we make it actually accessible to them? So that scaling, again, scaling to these kind of ML users who are domain experts becomes very critical when you want to accelerate the time to market. So I'll go into a little bit of details on that. One of the takeaway for us over this is like understanding the dimensions of scale. That's important to the context or the area where we are trying to apply ML. So let's dig into the first dimension of scale that I mentioned. So Workday is software as a service, and our customers' data are encrypted with their keys and stored and isolated. There is a lot of privacy, security, and legal guarantees that they get about the data that's stored in Workday systems. And that is great. And that's been a cornerstone of success for Workday. Once we start applying machine learning, we knew that this is the way data is organized or stored in our systems. Once we started applying machine learning, then we started noticing an important thing. So now let's contrast this with how would you do this in the consumer space, right? You have a lot of data, awesome. All of them sitting in your data center, wonderful. Let's take all of them. Let's have a few machine learning engineers or data scientists look at that, handcraft a nice model, deploy it to production, and we are good to go. So that's the traditional, or that's how ML products are typically built for the consumer space. But here, we cannot mix data from different customers. So there is a variety of reasons. Come and talk to me later. I can tell you in all the details. But the bottom line is you cannot mix data from customers, and hence you cannot handcraft a model. And Workday has thousands of customers. Now you have, like even the simplest of model, let's say you apply linear regression and build a nice model, you need to build one model for each customer with their own data and be able to like automatically validate and do all the stuff that normally a data scientist would do manually. Not so manually, but kind of interactively if you want, using their tools, need to be completely done automatically. So think here not more like a bonsai, but more think like a automated kind of pipeline where you can stamp out these models and validate them and stuff like that. So this is what is leading to those number of models. So now if you can see, even for one ML-powered product that you build, when you have thousands of customers, you build one model for them, you deploy it, and in a week or even in a few days, that data has changed. You need to build another model on the new data that they have, store them, version them, and now very quickly you can say, even if you have 10 products, you're looking at millions of models. How do you scale machine learning to account for this dimensions of scale? This is one of the problems that we are solving. So the lesson for us is automate everything as much as possible, across the board. Automate your model build, automate your model validation, automate your model deployment and serving. And there were like a lot of very interesting both machine learning and systems challenges that came up during this that I think we have a solution. I don't think we have solved everything, but we have a solution that has helped us to kind of do this automatically at scale and be able to like still have that good data, fresh data, models built out of fresh data. So moving on, to talk about the other dimension of scale that I mentioned, here is an example of all the domain, I shouldn't say all, here is an example of the domains that Workday builds products. And these products are actually built by domain experts who are not the typical engineers that we think of. These are domain experts. They are experts in the HR domain, finance domain, planning, taxes, so on. So Workday has built a layer of, Workday has built a core platform that enables and abstracts away the complexities of building cloud enterprise applications from these domain experts. And we have a domain-specific language called Expresso that's designed specifically for domain experts to build business apps. Now, when we want to actually make ML accessible to all of them and make actually ML scale to all these hundreds of domain experts, it brings with itself an interesting challenge. And one is, there are two activities where we want to enable them. One is, how do we help them to quickly prototype ML-based applications. And I'm really running out of time, so I'm going to skip some of the details, but please feel free to come and talk to me. One is enabling them to very quickly prototype applying these machine learning techniques. And the other one is, once the prototype is ready, how do you get them into production application? So for the first one, we started with having data scientists help work with these domain experts. Like you know, it's neither fast nor does it scale. You cannot hire hundreds of data scientists to sit with each one of the domain experts. So on the second one, it doesn't scale because you can't like keep doing it again and again. So we are exploring tools to help kind of democratize ML to all the domain experts. And for the second one, we are building a platform that would help all the these prototypes to be very quickly moved into production apps. So the lesson is invest in the right abstraction and tools to enable domain experts. The platform itself that we are building actually enables an ecosystem where you have the domain experts who are the consumers of this machine learning services, and building the right kind of abstractions and the tools to enable them is one of the core things that we are building on the platform. Then on the other end of this is the producers of the machine learning, which are the data scientists and the machine learning engineers who actually build these services, helping them to focus on the machine learning and not worry about the system aspect like security, scale, etc. is another feature we have. Then we have other stakeholders. This is how our platform looks like. We have the applications on the top, then you have a layer of APIs and frameworks that make this ML accessible for the domain experts. And then you have a layer of the ML services themselves. Here are a few examples. Then the core layer of machinery that helps the data scientists actually not worry about the system aspects and be able to productively focus on the machine learning and just build the services. Then you have the persistence and compute at the bottom. I'm going to very quickly say this, build for scale. Other point I didn't get to touch is design for being able to consume ML over the cloud, be it ML as a service, pre-built models or ML platform. That's very critical, and I'm going to hand over to Madhura.
You guys can read this, take a picture of this, but in summary, these are the lessons that we learned. And if any of you are interested in make work better for others by applying your chops in machine learning, come talk to any one of us. Thank you.
Next.
Let's go eat now.